Welcome to Jobs Learning Campus. I am Professor Job Kuruvala, a mechanical engineer turned academician exploring knowledge domains in epistemology, pedagogy and cognitive science. The coronavirus is hardly 88 nanometer in size, but it has exposed like an X-ray the fractures of our traditional education system. This module illustrates a learning model propelled by our natural curiosity. Like a child, we observe things and ask why and sometimes why not questions. By seeking answers, we construct our own knowledge. The learning is done under the framework of revised Bloom's taxonomy using vignettes or inspiring episodes. A spinning top will reveal the secrets of nature's laws governing material, energy and motion. By this process, learners' minds are trained how to think, not what to think. The Greek trinity of Socrates, Aristotle and Plato pioneered the quest to understand the universe by philosophical thoughts. Observations of Copernicus and Kepler transformed their geocentric universe to a heliocentric one. Galileo, with his telescope, extended this universe beyond the solar system. Newton followed up this revolutionary thinking with his absolute and predictable universe held together by universal gravitation and laws of motion. Almost 250 years later, Einstein redefined our notion of space and time, making them relative and malleable by his two relativity theories. Max Planck broke out of this classical physics, discovering the hidden secret of microworld, now found to be built with 17 basic elements. The portrait of the child by artist Reynolds represents the three domains of learning process: cognitive or thinking, affect or feel, and psychomotor or doing. Another metaphor, the yellow triangle, symbolizes the second icon of an ideal learning process. Apex A represents the objectives of the curriculum, B the instructional methods, and C the testing or evaluation. The sides decide how the three components are related: what is taught, how it is delivered, and how it is tested. The triangle represents the quality of the outcome of the learning. The first outcome-based pedagogy was Bloom's taxonomy. It was developed by a team of educators led by Benjamin Bloom of Chicago University. The revised Bloom's taxonomy, or RBT, emerged out of a group effort led by Krathwohl and Anderson. It transformed the original static Bloom's taxonomy to a dynamic one by using action words, that is, verbs for describing the cognitive process. The knowledge dimension had an additional category, metacognition. This is graphically represented in the next slide. In this RBT taxonomy table, the objectives of the learning outcomes are shown in two dimensions: cognitive and knowledge. The cognitive dimension has 6 levels, out of which the first level is rote thinking or remember. The next 2 levels are lot or lower order thinking, and the last 3 are hot or higher order thinking: analyze, evaluate and create. The knowledge dimension has 4 categories: conceptual, which initiates deep learning. The next 2 slides show 2 sets of verbs used to express the nature of the thinking process. In this table, a total of 19 verbs are enlisted in groups of 2, 6, 2, 3, 2 and 3 in all subcategories. The rot, lot and hot groups are specifically highlighted. This table shows the 40 supplementary cognitive process verbs in addition to the 19 given in the previous slide. The vignette of our learning process is presented here. Observe a spinning top very closely. Initiated by a torque, the top keeps on spinning on your smooth table surface, gets tired, slows down, slumps, wobbles, falls and rolls in the reverse direction before coming to a dead stop. The questions are: Does the spinning top has the same mass as a stationary one? Question B. How do you explain its dynamic behavior? We will initiate our problem-solving thought process by using RBT as a scaffolding. The first category in cognition is rote memory, remember, with two subclasses, recall and recognize. We remember terminologies like force, mass, energy, torque, gravity, etc. We try to recall Newton's laws of motion. Our spontaneous conclusion is that there is no difference in mass in rest and in motion, but a doubt lingers. Obviously, our memory failed to recall the more advanced theories of motion. Why our memory failed? Let us try to find out. Our memory is like that of a computer, stored sequentially in three separate locations: sensory, short-term and long-term memory. Sensory memory receives the first input. Specific thinking strategies like reflective thinking amplify this input and transfer the information to the short-term memory where it gets embedded. Thereafter, with the help of appropriate learning strategies, the content is moved over to the long-term memory. This process is critical to deep learning. The new information should get related to the already stored memory for effective retention of knowledge. We forget if this part of this process is weakened. Most of our learning strategies are evolved to strengthen this process. Understanding is the foundation on which all types of knowledge are rooted. It links the new information to the old knowledge stored. Out of 6 categories of understanding, we choose interpret, infer, and comparing for solving the problem of the spinning top. Let us see how understand can relate Newton's laws and Einstein's relativity theories to the spinning top problem. Special relativity ignores gravity and is applicable only to inertial or non-accelerating bodies. The important concept is that mass is another form of energy as related by the equation E is equal to mc squared. It also asserts that time and space or distance are similarly mutually convertible. We will see the mathematical model for this concept a little later. So there is a possibility that when the top picks up speed, its mass is affected. However, there is a catch. Our spinning top is rotating. Any circular motion has a centripetal acceleration. Hence, in this context, special relativity is not applicable to the top. Only general relativity is. General relativity accepts gravity and accelerating bodies. It also accepts mass energy conservation and time variation theories of special relativity. So, we have discovered that general relativity is applicable in our spinning top problem. We now move to the next level, apply, where two choices await us. The verb execute is used when we face a familiar situation, like NASA sending a moon mission for the 3rd time. We use the verb implement if we have to apply a known principle to an unfamiliar situation, like a future NASA mission to the edges of a black hole where Einstein's general relativity equations may not be valid. Obviously, in our spinning problem, we can use the word execute while applying Newton's law or relativity theorems. We will now explore a few why and how questions. Why an astronaut is said to become younger in space travel. How they feel weightless in a space capsule. Answer to the first question is given by Einstein's relativity equation on time dilation as shown in the slide. The problem given is an applied example of this concept. The cosmonaut is younger by about 1/47th of a second on his return. Answer to the second is that the astronaut feels weightless because he is in free fall in the orbit around Earth. Gravity is working, but the astronaut is not aware of this because of the fall and the circular orbit. Newton's laws and Einstein's theories give good explanation of behavior of big things, tennis ball, rocket, satellites, etc. How about the invisible small world where electrons orbit the nucleus and 17 fundamental particles clandestinely build all the diversity we see around? If Newton's laws are applied to the electrons, all electrons will crash to the nucleus and there will not be any material world. Max Planck offered solutions to this problem by inventing a new field of science, quantum mechanics. The two pillars of QM are the duality of particle and wave and the concept of uncertainty. The smallest sizes to which energy, space or time can be sliced are expressed as Planck numbers as shown. Quantum mechanics has invented ultra-sensitive sensor technologies to measure the tiniest changes in mass or time, a requirement our vignette requires. But that is another vast territory which we are not entering. The next step of problem solving is analyze. We differentiate the specific limiting features of Newtonian mechanics, relativity theories and quantum mechanics as illustrated. For clarity, the three equations of relativity theory needed for the problem solving are shown. 1. The term highlighted in the denominator of the second equation explains why the mass of the spinning top increases as its speed picks up. Second, it is similar to the time dilation equation explaining how a cosmonaut becomes younger in space. So far our thoughts were of diverging nature, exploring different possible solutions to the problem. Now we will converge our thoughts for arriving at a solution. This is done by evaluation or judging acceptability of the solution. This judgment is done in two pathways. One, by checking the internal standards, in this case the Newton's laws, and the second by critiquing or judging against external standards. In our vignette, the external standard is Einstein's relativity theories. The answer that emerges is the mass increases in motion, contradicting Newton's conclusion that mass is same whether in motion or not. We have now reached the last step, create. At this stage, we generate ideas. It is an open-ended divergent thinking process where many ideas flash over our mind associated with the concepts already learned. Next stage is plan, a result of convergent thinking process when we choose one out of many available options and then plan how to create it. The last stage is produce, where the planning is executed by creating a product. I would make a distinction about the product created. It can be an innovative product incorporating improvements in function or aesthetics of an existing product, or it can be an invention where a totally non-existing product is created, like email replacing fax. As an example, I am showing here an innovative product, a lab model of a gyroscope which can be used to study the three-dimensional motion of a rotating disc. Now we move to the knowledge dimension. The guidelines for choosing the four categories are shown here. Conceptual knowledge is the foundation of building up all other types of knowledge like procedural or metacognitive. As an analogy, I will take Ohm's law. To understand Ohm's law, we should know the relationship between various circuit parameters like voltage, resistance, current, etc. They are like the beads in a chain, which is either a law or a principle brought together in a specific order using a thread. Procedural knowledge is learning skills. It is like cycle riding. You can master it without being aware of most of the theories. It belongs to the psychomotor domain of learning. Metacognitive knowledge reflects the affect or emotional domain. It is a subconscious awareness of self, about our weakness and strengths, which enable us to choose appropriate learning strategies. We are now exposed sufficiently to the breadth and depth of the spinning problem of the top. The final step is framing of the general objective and specific objectives of the learning process. The boundaries of learning are defined by the general objective. The cognitive dimension, the verbs used are from the main 6 categories. On the other hand, knowledge dimension is expressed as nouns. In the next step, we have drawn out 5 specific objectives by using any of the 19 subcategory verbs or from the 40 auxiliary words. One metacognitive observe also is included. Next step is to map the specific objectives of the taxonomy table as shown. Except one, all other objectives are in lot or hot levels. This table is used not only for monitoring the delivery aspect of the curriculum, but also as a guide for evaluation or testing of the learning outcomes. For extremely inquisitive minds, I am giving an extension of the spinning top problem. The question is, what happens if the top is a magnet of the same shape and spins along with the wooden one? One hint: Earth's magnetic field. As a concluding remark, I would like to say that there is no absolute truth in science. Truth is only approximate. We have to teach the students Newton's law first. It is very easy to understand and highly useful in applications like building bridges or structures or rockets or cars. Einstein's law will come only when precision matters, like a GPS design. So both yes and no are correct answers to our problem. Only the degree of precision matters. We have come to the end of a fairly long session. Hope this learning model will be useful to stimulate critical and creative thinking among students. Thanks for your patience. Don't forget to give your like and feedback. Wait for the next module on creativity as an art of learning.